First story. Can't get past my wife affair sexual part. My 60M, Y41F, had a 5.5-year affair. This was her second affair. First one was 1.5 year that included romantic gestures and sex. All the sex. WS has learned through IC that this was due to family of origin abandonment and trauma from past relationship. Yes, I'll admit all of WS past is really bad, and I know it affected her in very unhealthy ways. She was 100% seeking validation from a traumatic past. I have actually forgiven her from this perspective. I am compassionate and understanding of what she struggles with and recognize this led to BPD and compounded by addictive behavior. WS wants reconciliation and to her credit has done a ton of IC work as well as supplemented with online classes to get on the right path. She seems remorseful, but do we ever really know? D-Day was almost 9 months ago. WS did not come clean. She was using my computer and left her email open on my computer. Discovery is so traumatizing. Anyway, from my perspective, sex between two committed people is supposed to be special and like a secret shared between the two of you. It should grow and evolve over time. Sex for me is a way to find my own validation for being a loving and supporting partner. Am I crazy for holding the sexual aspect of a relationship to be this important? As I've worked toward complete forgiveness, I keep hitting a wall with the fact that WS was able to say yes to OP so many times for sex. WS says that it was just to feed the addiction of the attention and validation, nothing more. But WS doesn't seem to understand how that actually comes with its own version of pain. Not that any answer would be one that would make me feel better. I feel so humiliated that WS would engage in all the sex. The thought of her freely giving herself to another male just really makes me feel so low and weak. The mind movies are taking a toll on me. It makes me feel like I'm betraying myself when I'm considering we did hyperbond at the beginning of the aftermath. But now I just feel low when trying to be intimate. From my hetero male perspective, this is just so degrading. We both in IC and start with a third MC this week. I think that the change in dynamic to our relationship is what's killing me. I held what I thought we had in such high regard. WS obviously did not, even though she says she did. That's hard to accept. Not sure I can. Damn straight it's a relationship. Breaks my heart that I wasn't enough for her. That my love, support, attention, provider, father and even a great lover was not enough to overcome her need for this outside validation. I get from her past why this happened, but it just doesn't help heal my heart. This absolutely devastated my work, efforts and loyalty over 27 years. It's a lot. It makes me feel low when I'm like, yes, I'll have sex with you even though you went and had a sexual relationship with someone else. It's like I'm willing to take the leftovers of this situation. Like I'm willing to degrade myself further by allowing her back into my sexuality. Does that make sense? Do you have those same feelings? And if so, how did you overcome that? This sucks so bad. I do want a good sex life. It's what I've felt is such a loss in my life. I am so angry about it. Is it okay to try and go through with it just to recapture the right I have as a sexual being? Part of me wonders if it's wrong to try until I've worked through my issues. But the wheel turns and I get angry that my sex life has been taken from me. WS definitely wants to have intimacy. I guess I'm just worried about the ethical nature of having sex without being fully healed. Maybe part of my healing comes from this. Full disclosure, I am dating, but none of my relationships have gotten to the sex point yet. Me dating is fully consented, and that has done a lot for my self-confidence and being able to have the power to actually feel like I can choose rather than just having I take the situation WS has brought upon us. My therapist also said your feels are valid and what you are going through is normal. Let me tell you, I can relate to your situation. My WW had 8 APs and sex with them at least 20 times over a 1-year period. Anyway, from my perspective, sex between two committed people is supposed to be special and like a secret shared between the two of you. It should grow and evolve over time. Sex for me is a way to find my own validation for being a loving and supporting partner. Am I crazy for holding the sexual aspect of a relationship to be this important? You aren't crazy, but consider this. When you think about what sex is, the meaning and importance of it, those are your feelings, not your WP's feelings. The way WP experiences sex with you is different. So recognize that, and recognize that projecting your experience onto her in this way is flawed. Second, recognize that when WP had sex with the APs, it was a different experience than the sex she has with you. It was not a safe place, and it was clouded with shame and guilt and low self-worth. That sex may have been exhilarating in the moment because it was wrong, but it was certainly not better or more meaningful than the sex with you. Recognize that she didn't share the special thing you two have with others, she only shared her body. As I've worked toward complete forgiveness, I keep hitting a wall with the fact that WS was able to say yes to OP so many times for sex. WS says that it was just to feed the addiction of the attention and validation, nothing more. But WS doesn't seem to understand how that actually comes with its own version of pain. She was acting out of an emotional state. Emotions aren't logical. It won't ever really make sense. She likely does truly see it as a means to end sex for validation. You may have heard the phrase women use sex to get love and men use love to get sex. Not that any answer would be one that would make me feel better. I feel so humiliated that WS would engage in all the sex. The thought of her freely giving herself to another male just really makes me feel so low and weak. The mind movies are taking a toll on me. It makes me feel like I'm betraying myself when I'm considering I get it. I suffered mind movies up until recently. They are really terrible and panic-inducing and come out of nowhere. This is your body having a trauma response. I recommend looking into EMDR if you haven't already. It has been very helpful for me. I will finish with this. Much of your recovery from this is mental gymnastics, figuring out for yourself how to reframe what has happened in a way that allows you to accept it and let go of it. You won't have peace from this until you do that. It's different for each person and nobody can tell you how to do that. I will say it is absolutely possible, and if you keep fighting and working you will eventually find it. Recently I was able to reframe the first EA affair. It kind of had purpose. I know that's weird to say, but my compassion broke through to understand what was going on there. I am struggling to find the purpose of this affair. Even though her IC has gone deep enough this time to allow for those reasons to come out, my only way forward is to reframe that into a beneficial purpose, like how this affair may actually be getting her on the path to a truly healthy state, which I want for her. It's just that I've had to pay the emotional fee with how this has degraded me. I am in IC and we've been leading up to EMDR. The intake for all the traumatic thoughts was last session. So on Monday I think we are going to do the actual EMDR thing. You have given me hope that there is a healing path for me here. I have forgiven her to the extent of understanding her family of origin and mental struggles. WS is important to me and I want the best for her. However, I don't want to get lost in what is the best for me. I am really struggling with how far she took this affair. The sexual nature is really eating at me, and I just don't know if I can get back to that place with her. A 27-year marriage lost to this behavior. All my work to show her love and support lost to the fact that her actions have left me in such a compromised position. I am struggling with R because this doesn't sound like much of a good life ahead. Full of pain and triggers. I just don't know. Update. This got turned around on me and CC. I am the BP. We are on CC number 3. And so far all 3 CCs have said that ultimately the decision is mine as the BP as to what I want to do. Okay, cool. Furthermore, my WP's IC said that WP can't have any expectations of me. Okay, cool. WP does want some version of our. WP said she is willing to have whatever relationship with me that I'm willing to give. Okay, cool. I will date you too. So here's how I see it. 6 years ago when WP started her full-blown PA, she ended monogamy right then and there. I was just the last to find out. I have discussed with WP that the monogamy portion of the marriage is over and that I'm going to start dating. We discussed divorce, but it really doesn't make sense given our very complicated situation. WP understands that monogamy is off the table, and that it's just a piece of paper so that we can maintain certain financial, insurance and guardianships. Okay, so that's transparency and consent. People do this all the time, but to be ethical in the dating world, I advertise as E&M due to that piece of paper still existing. As well as I don't put myself out there as wanting to get married ever again. Great. So it's all out there and transparent. Now my WP wants to still work on a relationship with me. Okay, cool. Let's see what we can make of that. I am no longer interested in monogamy and we'd be in place of starting over. All these CCs always talk about building something new, from a new place and stronger. Okay, cool. Why can't that be a non-monogamous relationship where WP is one of my girlfriends that I date and build a relationship with? Is that so crazy? However, in our last session with the CC, I was admonished for being revengeful with my actions. CC said she could not work on helping us with all these other people involved. CC continued her barrage saying that I wanted my cake and eat it too. Hold on. Me? The BP? I wanted my cake and eat it too? Are you serious? My WP had a 5.5-year full-blown PA relationship with another guy. And it's me who's acting bad by wanting my cake and eat it too? I very calmly said that her comments were unfair. This CC didn't ask if this was what we wanted. She didn't validate that I am allowed to live my life the way I wanted. CC is trying to shame me into a box that I don't want to be in anymore. So let's see. I get this shit sandwich delivered to me on a silver platter, and I just have to acquiesce to the notion of monogamy? No. I was dealt a very disrespectful reality full of humiliation and dehumanization. I will be taking my life back and in a whole new direction. That is good for me, thank you very much. This is a very polarizing discussion and I truly appreciate all of your perspectives. I hope for those of you who lashed out that this has helped you in some way to heal. I don't know you and I am fine to be your punching bag. I think that the nuances here have been missed. Is WP supposed to expect anything from me? Her IC, no. Do I get to make the decision on how I want to live my life? My IC, yes. I want a divorce and be single. Discussion happens here. Okay, that doesn't make sense due to taxes, insurance, medical guardianship. I want to move on with someone else. WP, okay, I understand that, but would you be willing to see what kind of relationship we could have even if you are dating other people? Me, I'll explore that option as long as you are willing to let me date. WP, yes, but I would like us to go to CC to figure this out. Me, that sounds reasonable. Me, do you want to date anybody? Do you want to go back to APWP? Never AP, no. Right now I want to work on myself and see what kind of new relationship we could build. Me on dating sites. I am E&M. This is because I am still married and I cannot advertise as single. Everyone I have talked to or dated has this information. I don't want our WP knows this. Can we build something new from this state of non-monogamy? I don't know. I am clearly saying what I want. In fact, WP is clearly stating what she wants. This has come from nearly 9 months of IC for both of us. P.S. D-Day was a little over 9 months ago. Update. Need advice from this sub to affairs from WW. IB been over on its own after infidelity mostly, but I'd like to see what this group has to say. I'll try to be brief as to avoid TLDR. My WP has had 2 affairs over the years. First one was 10-ish years ago. It was a 1.5-year-long EA with an ex who was abusive and raped her. She also got pregnant and an abortion in the past when they were together. I discovered it when she was never in bed at 2 to 3 a.m. Had to pull phone records to stop the lying. Anyway, she said she needed closure on that situation. So because it was an EA and had meaning, I was able to eventually come to terms with it. To make our work, she on her own accord had a new commitment ceremony for us. So now I'm thinking all is well. But last October I discovered affair number 2. Another ex where her trauma came from because he had sex with her at 13. Sounds like rape again to me. Anyway, his trolling self slinked back into her life 30 years later. And with an apology, he was in her pants almost immediately. This went on for 5.5 years when I discovered this one too. She left her email open on my computer. She kept every email. They were having a full-on romantic PA with all the sex. Needless to say, I was devastated, which is a gross understatement. To her credit, she got into IC immediately and had discovered her whys. She has abandonment issues from non-existent parents and these 2 ex-guys. She's been diagnosed with BPD and addiction. She had shown remorse and really wants to work on this. In the last 10 months I've been dating, but she still wants to work on us. What would you do? If there are questions or you want to know more details, just let me know. Second story. Am I crazy? I, 39M, found out my wife, 39F, was having an emotional affair May 2023 with my co-worker, 25M. We have been together 17 years, married 15 years and have 3 children together. She is a SOM for the last 7-8 years. I would have never imagined she was capable of this type of behavior, and I am still thinking about it daily over 15 months later. I found out early and they were only communicating for 18 days. To say I panicked is an understatement. In retrospect, I wish I could have kept it to myself, at least for a few days. As there had been escalating behavior from innocent text to flirting, sending risque photos, no nudes, and him trying to get her to meet up. The day I found out, Wednesday, he was hounding her to meet up with him on Friday when I went back to work. I work a 24-hour shift and would be gone all Friday. She has both our parents available nearby to watch our kids whenever she needs to run errands, go to doctor's visits, tanning, etc. So it would have been easy for her to get out alone for a quick meetup. Up until this point, she had continuously declined his advances to meet, citing what a bad idea it was because I have such an amazing husband. It'd be easier if he was a dick. This particular advance, she replies, I'm actually considering wanting to see you Friday, followed a few texts later by I'm hoping I'm strong enough by then to say no. This is where I found out. And no further contact was made between them, and I took the next 3 weeks off while we worked through this. We made a lot of positive progress and have been doing great. She saw a therapist for most of the following year and worked through a lot of things. I wanted to see a marriage counselor, but finding one available seemed impossible, and we are still on a wait list with one we both liked. We did a lot of talking. A lot. I'll admit it took me a good 24 hours to calm down enough to talk and not start yelling and telling her what stupid shit she just did. I can honestly say this was one of the worst times of my life. I still struggle with it daily and have for the last 15 months. I regret not being able to keep it together and wait and see if she actually went through with anything. She swears she never had any intention of meeting him and was only messaging him to feel better about herself. Flirt. She admits everything she did was out of line and swears nothing like this will ever happen again. How I found out? There were no red flags that I saw. We have an open phone policy and I never felt like I had to use it. I just had a weird feeling like a knot in my stomach. So when she wasn't looking, I signed into her iMessage on my iPad and accepted the alerts on her phone so she would have no idea. It took all of 15 minutes after doing so to see the texts start rolling in. She had just left for a doctor's appointment and I was watching the kids and felt like I was going to die. I called her immediately and told her to come home as we had some stuff to talk about. I ran the kids to her parents so they wouldn't see the shit show. She got home about 15 minutes later, and her phone was wiped of all of the messages between them. She was deleting them as they came in while I was home, but didn't have to worry about them while I was away at work, and would just delete them all before I got home. It took a few hours, but I was able to recover all the messages between them. All 4,400 of them. In 18 days. She panicked when I told her I recovered them and begged me not to read them, saying she didn't want to hurt me. Up until this point she denied anything was going on, and said they were only texting to help work through her anxiety. Well, that was a load of shit. Fast forward to now. I have the same feeling in my gut. I still look through her phone when I get home occasionally. Nothing. The only thing I can find is she is spending time on an app. Don't know what, and deleting it. I have read so many posts on how to catch cheaters and found the battery usage one helpful. There is a deleted app with several hours of usage, but it doesn't say what it is. I don't think she is using another phone or texting this individual again, as he is blocked in her phone. But I am worried she may be using Snapchat, possibly, as we had accounts many years ago, but deleted our accounts together several years ago. No saved passwords in her phone, and I know her emails. Nothing there either. I'm worried she may be using a throwaway email, and I don't know how to try and catch her if she doesn't have anything saved. There is nothing in the App Store purchases as far as apps go. I'm afraid to bring it up and scare her and make her more secretive if she is actually doing anything. I got too many questions pop up in my head. Does she's flirting with my coworker first? How did they get one another's numbers? How did they meet? He's 25. What the duck is wrong with her? She is telling this little POS that she is 100% down to fuck. That is my damn wife. Does she really didn't want to hurt me? That's why she was messaging the 25-year-old co-worker 245 times per day for 18 days? I know she was bragging to co-workers about ducking my wife, but she didn't want to hurt me. Also, her deleting those messages immediately shows she knew 100% what she was doing was wrong, and never wanted me to know that she was planning to duck the young co-worker. What a bad person, honestly. She couldn't just find some random horny guy to do this with. She had to take it to my place of work. This part is very frustrating for me, as I'm clearly too close to the situation to use critical thinking. My deceptive wife, who was aiming to fuck my coworker and was deleting texts from him, is now deleting an app that she downloads every time I leave the house and is spending hours on it after I caught her the first time. I know she is still in wayward mode, at a time when brutal honesty is the only way to save things. I need real actions now. I have to see a lawyer, hand her the papers, and leave it up to her to do the work to make this right. I know I have to confront this coworker. He's still employed by my firm. I want to inform to my boss. Either HR knows the kid is trying to fuck the older wives at the company. It is sink or swim time for me and mine family, and it is time to stop being passive. I hope I did a great job with the initial confrontation. Now it's time to get really pissed off and start acting in my family-owned best interest. Any advice would be appreciated, and I will try and answer all questions.